I don't want you to shout at me, but I've done it again. You see, in December last year, I had to apologise to you guys because I was really late with a particular video. I was late introducing you to my long-term test car, my Genesis GV70, that had replaced my BMW iX2. I filmed the introduction to that car in December, and the car had actually been with me since October. And I did say that I promised I would try not to do that again. Well, guess what? I'm late again. Except this time, I'm really late. So late that instead of introducing the car to you, we're actually saying goodbye to it. Yes, because in the blink of an eye, 6 months of Mini ownership has shot past. Although in my defence, I've not had this Mini for 6 months, as I shall now explain. So, welcome to this week's long-term test roundup. It's a fond farewell to my Mini Aceman John Cooper works, but as always, welcome back to AutoEV. Now, I suppose I should really start this week's, well, goodbye to my Mini Aceman by explaining why we're saying goodbye to it, why you've never met the car, and why we're now at the end of term with it. And it's quite simple, really. We've just been too busy. You see, in the 6 months that I've been a Mini owner, we've delivered you guys nearly 40 videos. That's 2 a week, with sneak peeks, twin tests, group tests, new car reviews. It's been an incredibly busy time in the electric car world, and I genuinely just haven't had a minute to introduce you to the car or tell you about it. That's why we're now at the end of 6 months with the Mini, and we're saying cheerio to it. But why is this my second one? That's probably what you're asking a little bit more of. Well, here's the thing. The last long-termer that I had, my electrified Genesis GV70, I absolutely adored, but it was the second time I'd had quite an expensive sort of premium badged electric SUV, because that car had replaced the BMW iX2. So this time I thought, I quite fancy something a little bit less expensive, a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit more fun. And I turned my attention to Mini because I'm a bit of a Mini fan. Well, we're a Mini family, in fairness. We've had loads of them. And the one car that we really loved was our little Mini Countryman, our original little R60 Countryman, a little Cooper S that I had. I adored that car. It was the perfect size for us as a second car because it was small enough we could take into sort of like the local multi-storey car park, or Liz could leave at the railway station car park when she goes to work, or we could just nip, you know, my daughter Katie around to her friends, but we could pick our friends up and take them somewhere without having to resort to using a big large Jeep Grand Cherokee. And the Aceman fits that bill. I think indirectly Mini have replaced that old Countryman with the Aceman in some respects, because the new Countryman is quite a lot bigger. And the other reason I didn't go for a Countryman was it sits on the UKL1 platform that underpins the iX2. So it would sort of been a little bit of a duplication in that sense. So I got myself a Mini Aceman. Now I like the Aceman, but I understand not a lot of people found favour with it. And here's the thing. I'll go into this in more detail in a second. This is a car that a lot of people look at, and I did myself when it first came out in pictures, and they go, no, not for me. I don't know what Mini are up to. That is not a Mini. The thing is, when you drive it, you soon change your mind. And I'll explain that, as I say, as we go into the drive of it. But the first Aceman that I had was an Aceman SE, okay? Now, let me just try and explain how the Mini range works now. Of course, you've got the Mini Cooper, which is the small Mini as we used to know it as, and then you've got your big Countryman, which obviously is the now large family SUV, and the Aceman sits in the middle of the three-car range, if you like. And within that, they're all electric Acemans. You can't get an Aceman with a combustion engine, which you can with the Cooper and the Countryman. This is electric only. And you can either have an E or an SE, okay? A bit like you used to be able to get Coopers and Cooper S's, it's E or SE now if you go for the electric cars. And that's what I went for, was an Aceman SE. And within that, you then choose a trim level. You can either have the Classic, the Exclusive, or the Sport. And I went for an Exclusive. In fact, the car I had was the very car I actually reviewed last November. It was an Exclusive with a level 3 accessory pack on it. It was in Rebel Red with blue leather. I loved it. It was fantastic. And I was just looking forward to this car for the next 6 months with this car. I thought, I'm going to love this. And then an email came through from Mini. Terribly sorry, Brian. we've got a bit of bad news. We need your car. So I had to hand it back. But the upside, they said, because there was an upside, is we're going to upgrade you. How do you fancy running a new John Cooper Works? Well, what do you think I said? So here's what I think about the Aceman, having spent 6 months with one. And here's what I think about the John Cooper Works Aceman, having spent the last 3 months with one. And I think the conclusion might surprise you. Now, normally when I do a long-term car, I do 3 pieces of content with it for you guys. We do an introduction to it. I usually do a twin test with its nearest rival, and then of course then we do a conclusion video. What I've liked about it, what I don't like about it, etc, etc. You've not had an introduction video to this car, obviously, but believe it or not, you have had a twin test with it. Because if you're a regular viewer of AutoEV, and if you are, thank you very much, we do appreciate that, then you'll know that I tested the Aceman John Cooper Works against its closest rival, the Abarth 600e Scorpionissimo. And I did say then that I thought that the Mini was the better option of the two. And I do stand by that conclusion. However, I have changed my mind on this car a little bit, but more of that a little bit later. Now look, I'm not going to go around the car like we normally do in a review saying what, you know, the styling and showing you all about it. You can see what it is. You probably know about the Mini Aceman. As I say, if you've been a regular viewer of AutoEV, then of course we've covered the car a couple of times. But I will go around it a couple of little bits. Well, sorry, I will go around a couple of little bits with you. I have to say, this is effectively what you get with the sport trim. So if you go for the Aceman and you tick the sport box, the sport trim, it looks pretty much like this. My first car, the Aceman SE, had the sort of contrasting plastic wheel arches. In the sport trim, you get it, sorry, that was an exclusive, but in the sport trim, you get them body coloured, like you do on the John Cooper Works. So of course, this is metallic black, and of course, it's got the black wheel arches. Of course, there's no contrast around the car until you get to the red bits. And of course, this has got the multi-tone roof. I'll go through the options with you in a second. I don't really like the sport trim. There's something about it. The Aceman is not, it's quite a challenging looking car until you sort of like really get up close to it. And I just think those contrasting bits, they tone down some of the bulk of the car. So when you make it body colour, it does the opposite. It makes it look a little bit more frumpy and a little bit more different. Now maybe I'm just getting a bit old, I don't know, maybe that's me. But I have to admit, I did prefer the look of my SE. Of course, it still had the big wheels, you know, a nice big chunky set of big alloy wheels on it and things. But I just preferred the look of the SE to the sport, the exclusive, sorry, to the sport. But the John Cooper Works gets a couple of little bit extras on the car as well. You get a little bit more red round here. Of course, you get the John Cooper Works badges on the front there. This one's got the bonnet stripes. You get a different set of alloy wheels. You get the John Cooper Works badges down the side there, whereas I think on the sport trim it's got it up on the spoiler there, and there's some other little differences around the back of the car, which I also think is a little bit of a shame, because obviously you pay a lot more for the John Cooper Works than you do a standard sport. And I just think maybe they should have differentiated it a little bit more. And I did touch on that when we did the twin test with the Abarth. So I do think that they should really have moved the sport, because they badged the sport with the John Cooper Works badges. Why? Why not badge it with sport badges? It's a bit weird, and I'm not sure that I really agree with that. Of course, if you do and you have a different opinion, let us know in the comment section. But yeah, so it's metallic black, and I've got obviously the contrast red, and it has what the Mini call the multi-tone roof. And I'll go through these options with you. I do like this, the way it fades from the red into the black right at the back. I think that's quite cool. I really do like that. That's quite special. And of course you get things such as the privacy glass, as I say, the bonnet stripes, the contrasting mirrors, the big chunky alloy wheels and things. This is the standard wheels. There are another option of style, but this is the standard wheels that you get on the car, and I quite like them actually. I'm not a lover of black wheels normally, but I have to say I do quite like them. But yeah, if I'm being honest about it, I do prefer the exclusive trim level. It's round the back that, dare I suggest, I maybe have the biggest issue with the car, and it's weird because when I first saw the Aceman in the metal, when I reviewed it last November, I quite liked the back end of it. And as I say, that was the car I ended up having, that Rebel Red car. And it has got quite a sort of curvaceous back end to the Aceman normally. but not if you have it as a sport, because they then add these straight and sharp and, you know, sort of like jutting spoilers on it. And I don't know, I don't know if it really works for me now that I've spent a lot of time with it. I do quite like it, but I just prefer the SE. I prefer the non-body kitted car, if that makes sense. But there you go. You don't have the option. If you tick the box for the John Cooper Works, this is what it looks like. So it's not like it's got an aero kit on it as an option. This is a John Cooper Works car, or this is what you get. A lot of tech on it. We'll talk about obviously that as we move inside it. You obviously get reversing camera, the navigation, and the infotainment system is absolutely fantastic. And I say I'll go into a bit of that later. But there's another weird thing about it as well. I've just noticed as well. You've got the blacked out Mini badge and the black Aceman lettering across the back, but you've got a different colour John Cooper Works badge to the rest of the car, because it's got a bit of white on the flag and the rest of it, but it's all black on the back. Why is that? Why has it got two different coloured John Cooper Works badges on it? Anyway, there we go. Look, hasn't stopped me enjoying the car, hasn't stopped me having it for the last 3 months and quite a few thousand miles in it. But as I say, I just prefer the look of the SE. That's just my opinion, of course. And really, what does my opinion matter, eh? Matters what you might think. Let me know what you think of the looks of the Aceman, the design of the Aceman. What do you think? Do you quite like it with the John Cooper Works body kit on it? Do you like it with the sportier look? Or are you like me, do you prefer it with the standard SE look to the car? Or do you not like it at all? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, this isn't a review of the car because, oh, somebody's car alarm going off. This isn't a review of the car because we've done that, but 300 litres of boot space, which is okay for class, I suppose, in some respects. And it's been fine for us because, as I say, we've sort of used it as our second car. We've got a big Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is a big family car, so it's not been needed for things such as family holidays, if we're going to Cornwall or whatever in the car. So 300 litres is, we've found, to be fair enough. So, me going, I've been to Scotland in the car, so there was enough luggage for me, enough space for the luggage I took up to Scotland. You've got a split fold rear seat which splits 60-40, and that'll take total capacity up to 1,005 litres. The only downside that I've found with it, the only time where it's been a little bit of a nuisance, if I'm being blunt about it, my mother-in-law has a walking frame. My mother has one as well, but my mother-in-law's walking frame doesn't go in there without lowering the seat down. I've tried all sorts of ways, but every time I pick my mother-in-law up, I've either got to put it on the back seat or put the back seats down and put her walking frame in there. That's the only downside I've had. But it's a fair enough shape, in terms of the actual space. And 300 litres for this size of car. I know the Alpha Junior's got 100 litres more, but I've not struggled with it other on that occasion. So it's not exactly been a downside for us, the practicality of the Aceman. The other thing that's okay for us is back seat space. Again, this is what I'm talking about. When we had our little Mini Countryman, our little R60 Countryman, it was the perfect size, because I say my daughter, Katie, she's 11 now, she's growing up, her friends are doing the same, so picking a friend up with her as well, a couple of them in the back, they were finding it just too tight in the 3-door Cooper S we had. So the Countryman was perfect. The Aceman's the same. It's exactly the same. There's enough space back in here for a couple of kids. Perfect. Or Finley, my dog, pop him in his little seat in the back seat here, it's perfect. There's good storage, you got maps on the backs of the front seats to say there's a cup holder or bottle holder there. There's tiny little door bins you could drop some, like a packet of Frutellas into if you really wanted to. But then you can get access to the back, the rear section of that centre console anyway, so that's not bad. And the seats themselves are actually quite comfortable. The trip to Scotland I did, I went up there to spend a weekend up there, and I brought my son back down. I mean, he's 27, 28. So again, two of us travelling back from Scotland. There was more than enough space in the car, for the luggage that we had. Two of us driving back there. So space-wise, it's actually quite a decent size, and it's a really usable little car. Now, the Aceman John Cooper Works gets the 54.2 kilowatt-hour battery that the company says should give you around about 243 miles on the WLTP scale. You won't get that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on when I move into the interior of the car, but yeah, you're not going to get 240 miles out of the car. You will get 200 odd miles out of it though, but you've got to be a bit careful. But we'll discuss that a little bit later. The only slightly disappointing thing is there's charging speeds, 95 kilowatts on the DC. So, you know, your usual benchmark 10 to 80% is going to take half an hour, you know, which is okay, but obviously there are cars that can do it faster than that now. So, you know, maybe that's a little bit disappointing. It does come with an onboard 11 kilowatt charger as standard, however. So if you've got access to that faster 3-phase electricity, you know, maybe, I don't know, at your office or, you know, at your own home as well, you can bring the total charging speed down, you know, sorry, charging time down, going from flat to full to about 5 and a bit hours. But if you're charging up from a 7 kilowatt wall box like mine, then you're looking at around about 8 hours to charge, because it's not a horrifically sized battery, so it's actually just over 8 hours to go from absolutely flat to absolutely full in the car. So just overnight, it's perfect. So whilst the outside styling, as I say, takes a bit of getting used to, I have to say the interior is the complete opposite. I love the interior of this car, I genuinely do. It's really interesting. So I'm sort of like, you know, in some mini Facebook groups, and this interior just I think the interior divides more opinion on the car than the exterior styling does. Across the Mini range, you either seem to fall into two camps. You either absolutely love the new interior or you absolutely hate it. No one sits there in the middle and goes, that's all right. I love this. I think this is unbelievably cool, this interior. I really, really do. And as I say, I had the original the R53 Cooper. I then had an whatever that was, Cooper S convertible, the original one. I've had an R56 Cooper S hatch, and we've had the R60 Countryman. So we've had quite a few minis. Oh, and if I think about it, one of the first long termer I ran on AutoEV was with the original Mini Electric. So I've had that model as well. I had that for 5 months. There we go. I love this interior, I really do. And the main part is because of this user interface, which is just fantastic. This OLED screen. Now it's not perfect in some ways, and the reason being will become clear when we're out having a wee drive, because we'll go for a drive in a minute, but just the style and the clarity of it is just fantastic. It's got standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is wireless. So you can go on to the Apple CarPlay, you know, that you can see there. Now I've upgraded onto the new, whatever the new Apple operating system is, so that's why it looks maybe slightly different. And I think you can change the sort of widgets. So it's moved on to the new style. So you can have, you know, you can have it just back with the clock there and still have your Apple CarPlay on, which I do like as well. It's so clear, the crisp, the colours and just everything about it. It's just, oh, I love it. I really, really do. And I have found to myself, when I was with my other long-termers, I tended just to default to the Apple CarPlay. But the Mini stuff is just really, really good. You know, so there's times where I've been using the Mini Nav. You know, it's really excellent, you know, the navigation, as I say, and you also get the augmented reality. So when you're coming up to a junction and it's telling you to turn left, or you're on a motorway and you need to be in one lane, you then get the camera pickup from the front will then overlay it with an arrow showing you where you should be. So you get the image from the camera with the overlaid arrow graphic telling you where you should go. I mean, it's just fantastic. I mean, it's the same obviously you get in BMW, but oh, it's so, so good. It really is. And I just love the design of it, how it fills the screen. And then of course you get your speedometer up there, which is nice and easy to use. But I've also got the head-up display, which is also excellent, and I tend to default to just looking at that for the speed and certain things. Turning your ADAS systems off, which is the first thing that I do, if you press and hold the set button for 3 seconds, speed limit warning deactivated, okay? And then your lane keep assist, you press this button down here, and it brings this one up, and there it's there, lane departure warning. Yes, deactivate now. Nice and simple. So although it activates on every time you get in the car, it's really simple to turn it off. So that's, you know, and you shouldn't just become used to just doing those two things. And in fairness, there's a couple of times where I haven't turned the lane departure warning off because it's actually not that intrusive. The speed limit warning is, so that is, but the fact you can do it from the steering wheel is brilliant. So that's that. So I really like that, okay? You can obviously flick through various different screens there. So there's obviously what you're listening to in your Apple CarPlay. You've also got voice activation as well. Now I haven't used that quite as much. I've used it a couple of times, but I'm not that fussed about it. But you can obviously use voice activation, and you've got the microphone button there that's up on the steering wheel, and then you just say, hey, Minnie. As it says there, stop navigation, or, you know, cancel navigation, or whatever you want to do. Then you've got nice little things. Oh, hang on here, try to do it with my other hand. You've got things such as your weather there. There's your efficiency since started journey. I can't remember what that one does. I think that one is, can't remember. Does something. And then there's the clock again as well. Okay, so you've got all those screens that you can go through. But there's also loads of different apps that you can put on the car, and you get to those via this little bottom menu. So if I press that, there we go there. All right. So there's all the things there. So here's what you'll probably want to know about my time with this car. Journey data. Here we are. So I've done 3,638 miles. Okay, and I've averaged 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, admittedly, not great. It's not the best efficiency that you're going to get out of a car, but I tell you what, the way you drive this car, you will not get a massive load of efficiency. I do have a friend, a colleague in the media, who had exactly the same as me. He had a standard Aceman, then went to a John Cooper Works, and he could not get his standard Aceman above 200 miles. I could. I got my Aceman SE to go in excess of 200 mile range. Here's the thing with it. So although you charge it up and you have a look at it, I mean, that's not quite full, but it's saying it's only got 142 miles. I guarantee you now, if I took this for a long drive and I was quite gentle with it, it will stay at 142 miles for quite some distance, because what it does is it recalibrates itself. It's almost giving you a worst case scenario, if you like. And then it'll think to itself, well, hang on a second, he's driving me quite gently today, or he's not always on motorway, so we can you know, so it'll stay at that mileage, that range for quite some time before it starts to drop. It's weird, and immediately you start to panic when you get in and you think, that's nowhere near the range that the car suggests it should do. Don't take it as being read, that's all you're going to get. It does depend on how you drive it. So it will change depending obviously on the journeys you do. But that's what I've been seeing out of the car, 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour since I've had it. But again, look at the graphics on it. That's my car. That's the graphics. Look, same wheels, multi-tone roof, bonnet stripes. That's my car on the graphic. I love that. That's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, so there we go, and then you can go back there, and there's various other bits and pieces that you can do with it as well. See, there's a range prediction. See what I'm saying? It's predicting that I'll do 142 miles, but potentially it can do 310. It won't do 300 miles, this car, it won't. But I can get over 200. I can get it over 200. So there you go. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. Right, what's the other thing I want to talk to you about as well? Oh, the other thing I want to talk to you about is the app. So the Mini app, I have to admit, I found this really, really very good. Okay, so the Mini app's nice and easy to use. You can do things such as all your trips, your stats. If you're into all that, looking at your efficiency statistics, you can get that on it as well. You can find the car, it'll tell you where it is. And there's some remote functions that you can do, as you'd expect. You know, you can lock and unlock it. You can switch on the headlights. You can switch on the heating and ventilation. So, you know, there's a couple of times in the summer where it was really hot, the car had been sat outside, you know, I can cool the car down before I get into it, that type of thing. There was a couple of times with the original car, you know, where it was just a little bit chilly in the morning, you're able to sit there at the breakfast table with your cup of coffee and just say, right, start heating the car up a little bit. So you can do all of that from the mobile, and it's a really good app. It works really, really well. And of course, you get things such as all the vehicle information on there as well. There's your accident and roadside. I mean, a lot of these apps are good. You can also go into the navigation and say where you want to go, and then send that to the car, so it's all pre-programmed in. So again, if you're sitting at your desk or at home and you're going, right, I need to go there tomorrow and then there, you can do all that from the comfort at home and then send it to the car. So that's another nice thing I do like about the app. And then there's various different things that you can do with the actual Mini itself. So, you know, so how to playlist. I think there's also things you can buy stuff for it as well, and of course you can book services and things. Obviously I don't need to do that. Yeah, there we go, all the services there. So there's a connected package, the parking assistant professional, those kind of things. You can also use it as a digital key, so you can share obviously the key with people. But to set that up, I needed both keys, and I don't have the other key for it because that stays with Mini. So I wasn't able to use that and see how good that is, but you can do that with the app. So again, have to say, really like the app. It's really straightforward to use, and it's been handy as well. you know, setting up, you know, and just checking the status of the car. You know, if Liz was going out in the morning, she was saying, is there enough, you know, is there enough charge in the car? And you just quickly look at it and say, yeah, there's enough for your journey. Perfect. So the app's really good. That's one thing I do like. So there we go. So that's the infotainment system there. And of course, you can narrow all those widgets down. You know, you can go into things such as the vehicle, the assisted view. Oh, that's what that is. That's the assisted view. I don't want that. Your personal assistant, as I say, your voice activation. You can go into your climate controls. You can change the experiences in there. I'll talk about that in a wee second. You can change, that's where you can configure your exterior lighting. You can change your interior lighting, which is lovely at night. And that's it really, you know, and seat comfort and various things like that. So that's all of that. Now, the other thing, let me see if I can find it. I wonder if it's still in here. It had a bit of an update the other day, or the other week. And I wonder if I can find it. Where is it? No, all. Because there was a big update on the car. And now, the one thing that it did do was it changed the, one of the experiences just used to be called go-kart mode. Well, now it's changed to John Cooper Works mode. Don't know why. Why was it not that standard? I bet you it's gone now. Yeah, it's gone now. Had a little update and it played a little animation. It was really cool. Katie and I, my daughter and I, sat in it and played it for ages. Really, really liked it. It was really, no many messages. There you go. Yeah, it was only there for a little while. But yeah, it was really cool. You've also got things such as Amazon Alexa. So you can pair it up with your smart devices in the house as well. So I love all of that, okay? So I'm not going to go on about that because we've done the review on it. I love that. The interior just looks great. I just don't get why people don't like this interior. I really don't. I love this knitted dashboard. It's sustainable, it looks special, and at night you've got ambient lighting behind the cloth, so it shines through. You get this nice blue little sort of like checkered flag in front of the drive. You've set blue. There's some blue checkered flags along the sort of like side of the pan roof as well. It looks great. And then some really nice down lighting in the nice soft blue colour. You can change it to red obviously if you want. I just think it looks great. I think people are saying it's got brittle plastic. I don't think it has. I'll tell you what, 3,500 miles, there's not a squeak, a rattle, nothing from this car. And if any car was going to rattle, it's going to be this one. Trust me on that. But nothing. It's absolutely perfect. It's as solid as the day I got it. It's beautifully built. I really love it. I've actually even got used to the thick steering wheel. I never liked the steering wheel at first, but I'm really used to it now. I love the design of it because I love this little canvas strap here that makes up the third spoke. The buttons are really easy to use as well, you know, so for volume control, changing your music and track search and your cruise control, that's over there. I like that. And the column stocks, I mean, they feel just, you know, when you click them on, they've got a real nice click movement to them. I really like those. There's a boost paddle that you get with the John Cooper Works. I'll explain that more when we go out for a drive, but when you press boost, you get 10 seconds of, you know, sort of like, you know, it counts down and does all sorts of funny things, and you get this instantaneous torque, and it's fabulous. There's loads of physical switches still. You know, you've got the volume for the radio here as well. There's your experiences button there. So if I go, there you go, to John Cooper Works. Woohoo! That used to be go-kart, and all the graphics have now changed. So that was the update it got. So it looks much kind of more stylized, sporty, and you got a G meter, and there's your Newton meters and your kilowatts and your speed, and you know, don't know why it has an RPM, but there you go, it's got it on the side there. So that's what you have there. So that updated. You still got core, green, personal. Picture of my dog there. I like having a picture of a dog when I drive the car. And then there's things like vivid, timeless. Timeless is the one that gives you the Timeless is the one that gives you the sepia toned speedometer like the old cars had. I don't think that suits the when you go in. Suited my old Aceman, but not this one. And trail. Now you get that as well. I don't know why on Aceman as well, but you get this sort of compass thing like you would take it off-road. Like you would. So yeah, so that's your experiences. You've still got the power button there, which is like the key that you twist and turn. Your transmission's there, your parking's there, and I see you get buttons down here to go into your quick access menu, your parking cameras as well. You know, see, so you can go in there and then you can see which one down the side from the mirrors. That gives you a forward facing one. There you are. And then there's the rear one. See? nice and easy, and then there's your full defrosting rear screen. There's more storage than you think there is as well, because there's loads of storage. You've got the wireless charging pad down there with 2 USB-C ports. You've got twin cup holders there, plus I've got this knitted box that I tend to keep my sunglasses in, or my peppermints, because my daughter's been eating now when I pick her up from school. They tend to live in there, you know, or keeping bits and pieces in there. Plus it extends into the back to give another cup holder for the back passengers and some more USB-C ports. But there's loads of storage, plus door bins, plus glove box. You know, Liz has got all her bits and pieces down in this door bin here, so you have to clear it all out before the car goes back. But yeah, I think there's loads of storage. And the seats are epically comfortable. You maybe don't think about it at first, but they really are. They've got lovely side support. I love this integrated head restraint, and the driving position is just absolutely spot on. It just feels like you're in the car and really in control of it. So I love the interior of the car. I must admit, I still prefer my exclusive trim. You know, when because it had the blue material up here with the orange on it, and the sort of blue leather with orange piping. I really liked that car's trim level. This is what you get if you go for a sport, by the way. You can't have a sport in any other colour. So it would come with the black leather with the red stitch and the black and red knitted dashboard. There's that silly wee camera up there that I was telling you about. That, by the way, if you do use that, I should point this out, if you do use that, many can't see that. Okay, that is not something that they can see. That is then stored in your device or in your car. Many can't see it. People at Mini head office aren't sitting there Googling people or looking on their database going, he looks like a right so-and-so driving that car. They can't see that, so it's only in the car and on your device. Okay, so just be aware of that. But yeah, other than that, I just love the interior of this car. It's one of my favourite bits about it, and it's really comfortable to sit here for a long journey, because I've done quite a long journey in this car, which we will now talk about. Now, I really love the way the Aceman drives, okay, and there's a reason for that. When the car first came out, I had this inkling that it was going to be like a slightly smaller Countryman, you know, and the Countryman's grown up quite a lot, and I thought that's kind of what we're going to expect now from the Aceman, isn't it? It's going to be like a small Countryman, quite sophisticated, feels more like a BMW than a Mini does. Absolutely couldn't have been more wrong. This thing drives like a Mini, and this is my point. If you really fancy a little Mini Cooper electric, but you just can't get on with 3 doors, you just can't have the practicality at 3 doors, bearing in mind they do a Mini Cooper 5-door, but you can't have it as an electric car because it's the old car, effectively. It's the old chassis it's based on, the old platform. This is effectively a 5-door Mini Cooper electric. Honestly, these things they drive like a Mini. Now look, no one buys a Mini because they want to be practical, okay? So there's, you know, we're not going to sit here and say, oh, it's not quite as good as the, you know, insert name of, you know, other car brand here. Of course it's not going to be, but it's a Mini, it has character, and character is just another word for flaws, if you want to call it a flaw, you know. So you're going to make some compromises with it, but, and it is a big but, I cannot lie, there is a one massive flaw with this car, and it only comes when you start living with it and using it on a daily basis. Because when I first drove this car, we're reviewing it against the Abarth, I said, this is a brilliant car, it's absolutely fabulous, great, it's a brilliant driver's car, and it is, it's a superb driver's car. But when you're not in the mood to really take up the scuff neck and drive it, and you just want a normal car, boy is this thing stiff. The suspension on the John Cooper Works is way too stiff for normal everyday use. It is absolutely, it's not crashy in the sense that, you know, it doesn't bang and crash and all that, but God, you feel, if you could drive over a packet of Rizla cigarette papers, you'd know you've done it. I've got colleagues in the media who cannot bear this car because of its ride quality. Now, I wouldn't go that far. I don't, you know, I can tolerate it. And again, as I say, if you're in the mood for it, the body control is just ridiculously good. But it's just those times where you're not in the mood for it. As I say, you're taking the kids to school, you're driving to Sainsbury's or Tesco's or whatever, or you're going to, you know, you're driving up to see your in-laws or whatever. It's just too stiff. The standard Aceman, which is still a, you know, a relatively bouncy little car, is the car to have. I do miss my SE. I would have an SE over a John Cooper Works. I really would. Nope. That's one of the cameras going there. So I would have a John Cooper Works over an SE. Sorry, an SE over a John Cooper Works, without shadow of a doubt. It's on anything other than glass-like surfaces. This thing's far too stiff. It really is. Performance, well, that doesn't lack. It's 254 horsepower. As long as you're in the John Cooper Works mode, it'll do 0 to 60 in 6.4 seconds. So it drives like, and that's the thing, it drives like a Mini. That's the bit that's key with this car. Whether it's the standard Aceman E or SE or John Cooper Works, this feels like a Mini to drive, which means it has got excellent grip levels, it has excellent steering, and it drives just superbly in terms of being a driver's car. That's the best thing about it. It really, really just digs into any corner you put it into. You know, you put it into a corner, you stamp on the throttle, and it's almost like it turns around and says, "What, is that it? That all you've got?" And you just speed out the other side like there wasn't anything there. It grips like a limpet, mine, this thing. It is fabulous from that. But it's also a little bit unruly, and that's the bit I quite like about it. That's the bit that sort of excites me. Sorry, that rattling is my camera. Let me just turn that to that so it doesn't do that anymore. There is a little bit of old school hot hatchery going on here with this car, and that's what I do love about it. Now again, that's available on the other Acemans. You don't have to go to the John Cooper Works to get that. But you know, you just feel like there's a bit of a fight with the steering. You know, you put your foot down and there's a bit of torque steer, and it just, you know, it tries to wrestle the wheel. You've got to drive it. And that's what I mean. If you look at the Aceman instead of something like, well, I don't know, a BYD Atto 2 or a Fiat 600e or a Jeep Avenger or whatever like that, it's not the same. You know, it's not that sort of practical, usable, you know, family orientated car. It's a Mini. And if you love Minis, even the original Mini, you know there's a compromise to make with that. You know there's a way to drive them. And it's no different with this car. That's why I love it so much. As a Mini fan, that's why this car still feels special. You know, and as I say, irrespective of whether it's the E, the SE or the John Cooper Works, it's a brilliant little car if you're in the mood for it. But gosh, that suspension is just, yeah, not one of it, to the point, you know, my daughter's now started secondary school, so I'm now driving her to school, and it's down this, you know, lovely little country lanes, and, you know, there's a road that leads up to before you go down this little back lane. It's lovely and sweeping and fast, and it's fabulous there. And then you turn down this little country lane, and even she's like, this is a really bouncy car, like really bouncy. It stops being fun for her at that stage, and it's just like, this is just, yeah, I don't like this anymore. Maybe it's my age, I don't know. As I say, I love the way this thing drives, and I love the noise it makes. Listen to this noise. You get that digital noise. See, the wheel there's just really properly tugging away. And that's what I mean. It's just for those times you just want a laugh in a car. This delivers it, and that's why I like it. It's just all the other times that I just wish it was just a bit more comfortable. I did mention about taking, sorry, just going through a width restriction there. I did mention about the fact I had taken it on a bit of a long journey, and I did. I went to Scotland in the car, went to pick my son up. He was coming down for a bit. He doesn't drive. I don't know why, but I went to pick my son up, and we drove back together in this car. You know, so that's 350 miles of motorway driving in it. You know, and as I say, funnily enough, on the motorway it's actually not bad. It's still, you can feel, especially on, you know, undulated sections of, you know, the M6 and things, there's no doubt about it, it does get a little bit, you know, bouncy. But, you know, actually the driving position and the, you know, sort of like, you know, where you sit in the car and the controls around you and stuff, they're actually, it's okay for a longer drive. You know, and again, you know, efficiency, well, it depends on how you drive it. If you drive it like a hooligan, then obviously it's not going to be that efficient, but that's what you expect with any car, whether it's electric or not, or whether it's a Mini or not. But yeah, it is a car, you know, as I say, I've been quite comfortable doing longer drives. I've been on lots of press events with it, press launches, you know, in different parts of the country with the car as well. And yeah, it's been absolutely fine. I'm quite happy to jump into it and do 2-3 hours on a motorway. There's not really an issue with it. In fact, in some respects, I'd rather do that than, you know, go down some little back road that's just full of potholes and cattle grids and stuff like that, you know. Look, no car's perfect, okay? And the one thing, as I say, I've found with the Aceman is it's more Mini-like than the Countryman. That's the one thing that, as I say, that I really, really love about it. But I have to be honest and say that unless you're really dialed into it, unless you're really in the mood for taking it by the absolute scruff of the neck and throwing it down a back road, you know, like I went down to Goodwood Festival of Speed in it, you know, driving it down the little back roads into West Sussex and things. They're absolutely fantastic when you're in the mood for it. Driving my daughter to school in the morning, just doing the school run, yeah, I sort of miss my old SE. So if you're looking at an Aceman and you're going to the Mini showroom and you're going for a test drive and you're looking at the John Cooper Works, make sure you take it on roads that you know. Make sure you take it for a long test drive that you know how that car's going to behave on that road, because I'll tell you what, I guarantee you'll probably change your mind and go back down the price lists and maybe look at an SE Sport, because that is by far, I think, the easier car to live with on a daily basis. Good as this is, I'd sacrifice the extra performance just for a little bit more comfort that the SE gives you. Right, let's talk about specs, baby. Buying a Mini these days is a little bit different to when I bought my first new Mini, which was 21 years ago, 2004. Back then you went in and you chose whether you wanted a Mini 1, a Cooper or a Cooper S, and then you had a salt, a pepper or a chili pack, and then you had some options and things. It's sort of similar in some respects, but it's a little bit more in depth now. So you've got 2 models within the Aceman, right? Well, 3 if you include the John Cooper Works as a separate model. Fair play. So 3 models. You get an E or an SE or a John Cooper Works, okay? So the E is like the old Cooper, and then the SE is like the Cooper S, so a lower powered one and a higher powered one, yeah? And then of course, then as I say, you've got John Cooper Works. Onto that, so you choose which one you want, onto that you then choose a trim level, and you can either have Classic, Exclusive or Sport. So the Classic is your more kind of basic trim, the Exclusive is a bit more luxury orientated, and then Sport is, well, you can guess, a sports orientated one. The John Cooper Works gets the sports trim, okay? So if you go for a John Cooper Works, it's going to come looking like this with the sports trim on it, okay? I'll go through that in a second. Then onto that, once you've chosen if you want Classic, Exclusive or Sport, you then add on an option pack. So it's either level 1, level 2 or level 3, okay? So that's it, and that's what the options the car will have. The John Cooper Works is slightly different because it gets a slightly different level of standard equipment, obviously, on the car. So the price of this car starts at £40,220, okay? And on to which you then add the options onto the car. But it gets, as I say, a slightly higher grade of standard equipment on the car than the standard ESE Exclusive Classic Sport thing, okay? So you get heated steering wheel, you get the John Cooper Works Sport steering wheel, you get comfort access, you get the sports seats, obviously standard, you get the Harman Kardon audio system as standard. That's a good thing to have, I think. And as I say, it gets the sport trim as standard, okay? So all of that is standard. Then onto that you add your options, okay? So the options fitted to my car are the sports stripes in red. That's a no-cost option to have these sports stripes on it. The multi-tone roof that I was telling you about. Now there's not many colours you can have that on. I think you can have it on 2 or 3 colours and that's it, but it blends obviously from the red into the black. I really like that. I think that's really distinctive. That's £650. And then my car has a level 3 pack on it, which is, well, £3,800. So that gives it things such as the panoramic glass sunroof, sun protection glass, folding wing mirrors with auto dimming, the rear view mirror with auto dimming, the active seat for driver, the electric memory seats. Electric memory seats, I have to admit, I found that really handy with both Liz and I driving a car. I do like memory seats on a car. Heated seats, got to have heated seats. Interior camera, not really fussed about taking selfies. It is literally a camera up in the rear view mirror you can take selfies with. Don't know why. But anyways, that's what you get in the level 3. It's got the adaptive LED headlights, which are brilliant. High beam assist, which is brilliant. Driving assistant plus, again, better sort of like ADAS systems on a car. I tend to turn those off. Parking assistant plus. Again, the car will find a parking space and manoeuvre into it for you. I've not bothered using that. The mini head-up display I do like, and the wireless charging, which is essential, and the mini navigation with augmented reality. That is fantastic. The augmented reality navigation is brilliant on this car. I love that. Absolutely fantastic. So that adds £5,000 onto the cost of my car. So it's £45,220 on the road for this car. Okay, so that's what it is. So it's not a cheap car. Okay, and I'm not trying to kid you on it is. However, the SE that I had wasn't that much cheaper than this. I think it was just over, I think it was about 42 grand for that car. And remember, if we're talking about rivals for it, again, if you've been watching a few of our reviews, you'll know that although this is a lot more expensive than the Abarth 600e Scorpionissimo, it's still cheaper than the Alfa Romeo Junior Veloce that we reviewed, and it's way better equipped than that car, and dare I suggest, feels more premium and is a lot more special. A little bit down on power on the Alfa, as it is with the Abarth, but as I say, it's a completely different car to the Alfa in terms of how premium it feels, especially on the interior. And as I say, if you think about the equipment level that the Mini has, it's way above what the Alfa is. So whilst I'm not going to stand here and tell you that a £45,000 Mini John Cooper Works is good value for money against its peers, actually, it's not as expensive as you'd think it is. So there we have it, 6 months of Mini Aceman ownership and 3 months with the John Cooper Works. What do I think? Well, here's the thing. When I did the twin test with the Aceman John Cooper Works against the Abarth 600e Scorpionissimo, I found in favour of the Mini, and I stand by that conclusion. Don't get me wrong, the Abarth is a brilliant car. If you prefer the Abarth over the Mini, I wouldn't blame you. But for me, there was something about the Aceman John Cooper Works that just dialed into the driver a little bit more. It was the type of car that, you know, you get it on the right road in the right mood at the right time, and it just worked with you. It's just one of those cars that's difficult to really describe. It's a bit unruly, a bit rorty, and it's a bit like an old school hot hatch from the 80s, and that's what I loved about it. You know, it made you drive it. You know, it really challenged you to drive it. However, that's fine if you're in the mood for that. The problem is, however, is that ride comfort. I've got to say, having now lived with this car for 3 months, there is no doubt in my mind that if it was my choice, if it was down to me and I was buying a car, yes, I would buy an Aceman, but I would buy an SE. I wouldn't buy a John Cooper Works. Now, as I say, if you want something hard-edged and focused, then the John Cooper Works is by far, you know, the one to have. But if for 95% of the time you're just, I don't know, driving the kids to school, driving to the railway station to park the car up, you know, and going to work, or driving to the shops, or driving to pick up your parents-in-law, buy the SE, because it's a much more comfortable car. It's still quite a harsh ride, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near as bumpy and bouncy as the John Cooper Works is. So that's what I'd say. If you want the looks of this car, you can have that, because you buy an Aceman SE and you tick the sport trim, and you get the looks of this car, and you get 98% of the performance of it. So you're not really missing out a huge amount. So that is what my advice would be. If you're going to go and look at the John Cooper Works, make sure you drive it on either a road that you know, or you take it for a long enough drive that you have a variety of different roads. Because, as I say, if you're just driving it on beautifully smooth, windy country roads, you'll love it. You drive it through town, or you drive it through, you know, local villages with, you know, speed bumps and stuff like that, you might not love it quite so much. So if it was down to me, of the two cars, I much prefer my SE over the John Cooper Works. As much as I love this, the SE was the better car for me. In terms of reliability, I cannot fault it. It has been perfect. You know, we've done, what is it now, well over 5,000 miles between the two cars, and there's not been a squeak, a rattle, a chirrup, a warning light, nothing. We've had no problems whatsoever from them. They're well built, they're comfortable, as long as you don't include the suspension in that. They're easy to live with as a family. We've genuinely loved having this car, and it feels special every time you get in it. Just that dashboard and the user interface and the quality of the materials that are used, it feels like a premium product. And I know it's not a cheap car, but as I say, remember, this is still £3,000 less than the less well equipped, not as good Alfa Romeo Junior Veloce. And that's a Mini. Now, that's my sort of like summation of it. But with these long-term reviews, it's really important that we get your opinions as well. So what do you think of it? Because if you've got an Aceman, whether it's an E, an SE, or a John Cooper Works, how are you getting on with it? What made you buy it? Did you not buy one? Did you buy something else instead? Why? Let me know your thoughts, because obviously what we're trying to do is build a picture of these cars so that people who are looking to maybe buy them in the future can look at our long-term reviews and look at your experiences as well and go, yes, that's going to suit me, or no, it's not. So that's it then. It goes, well, as I say, it goes next Tuesday. Then the replacement arrives tomorrow. Hopefully I'm not going to be quite as late introducing you to its replacement. What is that car? Well, you are going to have to wait for that review. Hopefully not another 6 months, but you are going to have to wait till I introduce you to the new long-term car, which, as I say, arrives tomorrow. It's a little bit more comfy, but it's still a small electric 5-door family car with a little bit of a Gallic flair to it. But it's not the one that you think. Anyway, thanks for watching another long-term roundup on AutoEV. As always, please make sure you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel, and then when you've done that, make sure you then press the little bell button, it's down below, or turn on your notifications so you make sure you get an alert when the next video is uploaded and it's gone live. As I say, if you've got one of these, or you've looked at them, or you've got some experiences, you want to share your thoughts, please do so in the comment section down below. And remember, if you're into your social media as well, you can find us across on there. So things like Instagram, Facebook, what is it, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, you'll find us there as well. So if you want to engage with us on there, please by all means do. The support is appreciated. Now, if you're in the marketplace for an electric car, maybe it's not going to be a new Mini Aceman John Cooper Works. Maybe you're thinking about buying one of the original Mini Electrics second hand, but you need to know a little bit more information about it. How do you find out? Well, here's how. Stay on the AutoEV homepage on the YouTube channel, and just at the top you'll see a little magnifying glass, and if you type the name of the car that you're interested in there, then of course if it's been a new electric car that's introduced in the UK in the last 6 years, then we've subjected it to the road test that actual car buyers do trust when it comes to choosing their next electric car, and that, folks, is the AutoEV one. All that remains for me to say is thanks once again for watching. Thank you for continued support. Thank you for your continued patience. I'll see you again soon.